Hi guys, Duncan Ryan coming to you from outside the guitar shed today. We just felt like doing one outside for once. So what I'm here to talk to you about today is a question I've been asked by a lot of people over the years, and that's, what's the best beginner guitar? In other words, what's the best first guitar for you to buy when you're just learning? There are a lot of different answers to that question depending on what you need, and what we're going to do today is go over some of the better brands and some of the specific models to those brands that are some of the most common and the most popular models, and also some of the ones you don't hear about so much. So starting off is the Squier brand. Squier is actually manufactured by the Fender Corporation, and most of you probably know that name from Stratocasters and Telecasters, some of the very high-end guitars used in rock and roll throughout much of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even into the modern day. Squier is mostly manufactured, actually it may be exclusively manufactured in China, don't quote me on that, but most of their guitars are made in China. And they're pretty good copies of regular Fender models. What separates them is usually the quality of the parts, the setup. They are not set up when you get them, so you have to have them set up basically immediately when you get them, otherwise they're going to be very difficult to play. And also just the build quality. Most people who have played a real Fender will tell you that the quality of a Squier, in terms of the feel in your hand, just is not quite the same. And that being said, what is there to recommend the Squier brand? Well, for one thing, as I said, they are pretty good copies. They're also very versatile. For example, a lot of them come with a humbucker in addition to the two standard single coil pickups that you would expect on, say, a Stratocaster, or in the case of a Telecaster, they can come with a humbucker as well, which gives you a lot of versatility when you're learning to play your music. So you can get a lot of different sounds out of one very simple guitar. They're also some of the only guitars that are of this beginner caliber that are probably going to come with a tremolo bridge. In other words, not a fixed bridge, so you can use the tremolo to raise and lower the pitch of your note. Most beginner guitars really don't come with that, so that's another thing to think about. So mostly versatility and price is what recommends them. They are very cheap, and also if you need a basic setup, for example an amplifier, a tuner, cables, stuff like that, you can get them all in one package with your guitar through Squier, and they're about the only company that really does this as a mass market. It seems to me the set is about $200 to $230, somewhere in that range. It may have gone up a little. That was actually my first guitar, so I can speak that that has pretty high quality, really. And the next one I'm going to talk about is Epiphone. Much as Squier is manufactured to be copies of Fender guitars, Epiphone is manufactured by the Gibson company, copying their guitars. And there are several different levels of Epiphone guitars. Some are very, very simplistic and definitely in the cheaper price points. Others are almost the same as real Gibson guitars and can run into the $700 or $800 range. And these are the really high quality Epiphones. They aren't really beginner guitars because, of course, you don't want to spend that much on your beginner guitar, right? You may not like it, you may decide, oh, hey, guitar isn't for me, but you don't want to spend $800 on it. That being said, Epiphone has some very good guitars that are right around the $250 to $300 price range that are of very high quality, really, compared to their price point. Specifically, the Les Paul 100 and SG 310 models. And what's great about these is they're incredibly versatile for any type of music. Whether you want to play more of a bluesy sound, more of a classic rock sound, or even into modern metal, these guitars really do it all. And that can't be said of most types of guitars. Either they're like the Squiers, more meant for kind of a bluesy or classic rock, or they're about like a guitar I'm going to talk about later, which are the Jackson models, which are really more for very hard rock, heavy metal. So Epiphone's really the one that spans all of that. It's good for just about everything. And they're a lot like Gibsons in that way, that they are kind of they're the most versatile guitar out there. And like I said, they are based on Gibsons, and they're built with the really high quality that you would come to expect from the Gibson name. And we all know that Gibson's probably the most famous manufacturer of guitars. Up there with Fender are the two big ones. Now the next one I'm going to talk about is a company that most people don't really think about that much when they think of beginner guitars, but that's ESP. ESP, much like Epiphone for the models it makes, has a couple that are in the $250 to $300 price range that are really very good for that price range. And these include the EX50, the F50, the F10, and the V50 electric guitar, all of which are very similar in terms of tone, but you get a lot of different options in terms of the body shape and the color, which is something that a lot of companies issuing beginner guitars don't really give you that much, so you get more of a stylistic choice in your guitar. They all sound really, really good. They all have excellent clean tones as well as really great pickups for heavier tones, heavy metal. Anyone who's familiar with Metallica is familiar with the more expensive ESP guitars, because traditionally both James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett use ESP models. The next one I'm going to talk about is a similar heavy metal company with a slightly different build quality, in my opinion, and that's Jackson. Both ESP and Jackson are very, very high quality, but Jacksons tend to seem just a little bit sturdier. They're built with a heavier wood, usually just put together a little bit better. They're, as anyone who has seen any of these videos on which I've been playing can tell you, my personal choice of guitar, the Jackson Kelly Professional model that I have, is one that's no longer made, but it's my absolute favorite. But what they do have is the JS32 and JS32T series, which they offer in a King V, Kelly, Warrior, or Rhodes styles, and you can find all of these different body styles by just looking them up online so you can understand what they'll look like. And the JS32T series will have a fixed bridge, just a regular tune-o-matic, and for, I think it's about $50 or $100 more, one or the other, you can upgrade to the JS32 series, which will have the same type of pickups, which are high output pickups, and the same construction, but they will have a Floyd Rose licensed tremolo bridge in them. And this is another one of those things that kind of sets them apart. Most guitar companies do not put in tremolo bridges, and I said this earlier about Squier, that they do use trem bridges, and it should be noted that the Squier ones are more like the traditional Strat tremolo bridges as opposed to the Jackson ones, which are licensed Floyd Rose, which have a wider range and a much greater variety of applications, really. The last one I'm going to address is Ibanez guitars. Now, Ibanez is more name associated with modern rock and some modern metal, and not a lot of people really think of them when they think of their first beginner guitar. I know I didn't, but they really do offer some pretty good models that are fairly cheap, between $200 and $300 usually. So what about the Ibanez should you like? Much like the Squier and the Jackson, they do offer, in some cases, tremolo bridges. Not in all cases, but it's a good thing to have. Often they'll have a lot of different pickup combinations, so you can have something like 2 single coils and a humbucker, 2 humbuckers and a single coil, or 2 humbuckers. So you can get a lot of different pickup combinations available in Ibanez guitars depending on what kind of music you want to play. You know, if you're going to go for more of a bluesy type of sound, you probably want one with more single coil. Whereas opposed to if you're going to go for a really, really heavy type of sound, you'll want 2 humbuckers. Or if you're going to go for something in between, you know, you may want 2 single coils and a humbucker, or 2 humbuckers and a single coil, something like that, which Ibanez offers all of. They really are very versatile in terms of the options they offer. The build quality on Ibanez guitars also tends to be fairly high, except they're really low-end guitars. The very cheapest Ibanez guitars tend to be a little bit flimsy, in my opinion, and I've never owned one long enough to have it go out on me, really, but people I know who have told me that overall they've had to do a lot of repairs to their Ibanez guitars that were very low end. But other Ibanez's I've seen actually do tend to be of relatively high build quality, up there with, say, ESP. They offer a lot of classic body shapes, like for example the Stratocaster body shape and the Les Paul body shape and the classic Gibson Cutaway body shape are three that they've tried to adapt to their models, and they do change them a little bit in the process, but they do add their own style, and they come out looking really, really good. So that is, in my opinion, probably the list of guitars that you should be looking at as a first guitar. Keep in mind, all of these guitars are under the $500 price point, and a tip to keep your cost down and maybe even get a little bit better guitar, shop around in terms of used gear, because most of the time used gear is going to give you a really good deal. Craigslist, eBay, or even like the used gear sections at your local guitar center or your local mom and pop music store are a great way to find really good guitars for lower prices. So, you know, look around and always play what you're going to buy. Never order something before you've played it. And another great tip is to use YouTube. It's a great tool for hearing what your guitar is going to sound like. If you've got, say, a list of 3 guitars that you want to go check out, go on YouTube, type in the name of the guitar, the name and the manufacturer, and type in, say, review or demo after that, and you can usually hear a sound demo of what that guitar is going to sound like in a studio setting. And you know, if you say want to hear a metal demo, you could even type in metal demo. If you want to hear like a clean demo, type in clean demo, stuff like that, because people tend to do a lot of guitar demonstrations on YouTube. I know I do. So, you know, use that as a tool. Use every tool at your disposal to learn about the guitar you're going to get, because I guarantee if you do that, you're going to get one that you're really going to like. You're going to get one that's a good value for you, and you know, you're going to get one that you're going to be happy with. Alright, and another tool you might consider using is what you're on right now, which is YouTube. It's probably the best tool for hearing how your guitar is actually going to sound before you buy it, other than actually, of course, playing the guitar yourself. So let's say you have a list of, say, 3 guitars that you think you want to try out, but you know, before you go to your local music store or your guitar center or wherever you want to go, you want to kind of get an idea of what they're going to sound like. You want to get an idea of whether these are guitars you're seriously interested in or not. So let's say that's the situation. Probably my best advice in that situation would be to go onto YouTube, type in the name of the guitar, the specific model and the manufacturer, and then put review or demo. Try both. If you don't find one that you like under the one name, try the other one. So usually what you can do is you can find a really good sound demonstration on YouTube, and let's say you want it for a specific type of music, like let's say you want it for metal. Type in metal after that, and usually it'll come up with a review specifically for metal. If you want it for a clean tone, usually it'll come up with a review for the clean sound of the guitar through a clean amp. So that is probably the best way to kind of gauge what a guitar is going to sound like in a studio situation and also in a live situation, because there are usually studio quality reviews and more just casual live quality reviews. And you know, go around and look at these videos, because there tend to be a lot of them for the bigger name guitar companies, because people love to do guitar demos on YouTube. I know I do. So in closing, I'd just like to say that make sure whatever you decide to get, you know, learn about it, research it, figure out what it is that you want in that guitar, because if you get a guitar that you really, really like, you know, you're going to be inspired to go and play that guitar and learn how to play, as opposed to if you get a guitar that you don't like that much, or you know, worst case scenario, one that you really, really dislike. You know, you're not going to get up in the morning and say, oh, you know what, I want to go play my guitar today. You're going to get up in the morning and think, oh, I just wasted $300 on a guitar that I don't like, you know. So if you want to get off to a good start with the guitar, learn about the guitar you're going to get. Learn about the one that you think you're going to buy. And remember, cheapest isn't always best. You know, if you think this is going to be something you're going to be really serious about, invest a little bit more money, get the model that you really want, because that's what's going to inspire you to keep playing. And that's all I've got to say for today. So, peace out, YouTube. Have a great day.